Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I will be discussing the Saints Row series from a Christian's perspective. The Saints Row series, a world where laws are just suggestions and morality is a punchline. For years, this has been the foundation of the Saints Row franchise. It's a world of purple-clad gangsters, completely absurd weapons, and a wild chase for power, all wrapped up in an explosion of mayhem. By any measure, it's a masterclass in entertainment. And for a long time, I was right there with everyone else, laughing at the sheer absurdity of it all. You can't deny it's addictively fun. But once the laughter fades, a more serious question starts to bubble up. What is this game promoting? It's a question that cuts through the noise, forcing us to look at what we're really celebrating. To understand the danger of Saints Row in a moral sense, we have to be honest about why it's so appealing. The series, especially during what many fans consider its golden era of Saints Row 2 and the third, perfected a formula that very few games have managed to copy. It took the open-world crime genre, like Grand Theft Auto, and cranked the absurdity up. While GTA often aimed for gritty satire, Saints Row chose to be a living cartoon, a power fantasy where the player becomes an unstoppable force of chaos. The core gameplay loop is built on a foundation of doing bad things and being rewarded for it, what a Christian would define as sin. Let's not mince words. The whole point is to build a criminal empire through theft, violence, and conquest. You aren't some reluctant anti-hero. You're an ambitious criminal, and the game celebrates it. The very appeal is the consequence-free fantasy of being a bad person in a world where your actions don't really matter. Think about the main activities. Mayhem missions literally reward you for causing as much property damage as possible. Insurance fraud has you throwing your character into traffic to rack up fake medical bills. In the world of Saints Row, greed isn't just good, it's a game mechanic. You gain wealth, property, and power through extortion, robbery, and murder. The game's entire progression system is a ladder where every single run is a violation of laws. The protagonists, the Saints themselves, are shown as powerful, ambitious, and triumphant, not in spite of their crimes, but because of them. This glorification of evil is the first and most obvious problem. The game doesn't just let you do bad things, it actively encourages them. It forges a direct link in the player's mind between sinful behavior and getting a reward, money, respect. And these are the dopamine hits the game gives you for doing things that are destructive in the real world. We are, in effect, being trained to find joy in doing evil. We role-play as people who embody the very things the Bible warns us against. Pride in becoming the untouchable leader of the city. Greed in the endless chase for wealth, and wrath in the casual, brutal violence that solves every problem. Saints Row basically turns the 7 deadly sins into a skill tree. But this is where the second, more subtle layer of the illusion comes in, the mask of humor. The game knows exactly how depraved it is. Its solution? Make it all a big joke. The violence is so over the top and the scenarios are so ridiculous that it's hard to take any of it seriously. This is intentional. The absurdity is a deliberate choice designed to disarm our moral objections. This humor acts as a mask, hiding the message underneath. It makes moral transgression seem harmless and fun. It's hard to feel the weight of your actions when the game is constantly winking at you, telling you that none of this matters. When you mow down a street full of pedestrians, the game doesn't respond with horror. It responds with funny ragdoll physics and a witty one-liner. The consequence isn't moral or spiritual decay, it's just a temporary spike in your police notoriety. This creates a dangerous disconnect. The 2022 reboot was criticized for this exact issue, with some reviews pointing out the bizarre tonal clash of playing as nice quirky kids who just happen to kill hundreds of people. This is the main function of humor in Saints Row. It's an anesthetic. It numbs you to the reality of the actions you're committing in the virtual space. It makes evil palatable. It makes sin look fun. And that is the heart of the problem. It's not just that the game shows sin. Lots of stories do that. The Bible itself is filled with graphic accounts of human depravity. The difference is in the framing. Saints Row doesn't present sin as a cautionary tale. It presents it as an amusement park. It invites you not just to witness evil but to revel in it, to laugh at it, and to find satisfaction in it. It normalizes evil by making it hilarious. So, if it's just a game, what's the real danger? What's the big deal? This is a fair question, and many people, including Christians, ask it. They argue that nobody is confusing Saints Row with real life, that it's just harmless escapism. But this view misunderstands how our entertainment shapes us. The Bible is clear that what we fill our minds with matters. The game asks us to dwell on what is dishonorable, unjust, and impure. In Romans 12:2, we are commanded, "Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Playing a game like Saints Row is, in a very real way, an exercise in conforming our thoughts to a worldly pattern, a pattern that celebrates self-gratification and pride as the ultimate goals. The spiritual lie of Saints Row is that this pattern leads to joy. The game's worldview suggests that true freedom is found in casting off all restraint and seizing power. The bigger your criminal empire, the more powerful you are. You win. You become a legend. This is a direct inversion of the biblical worldview. This isn't a command to only consume explicitly Christian media, but a call to discernment. It's a lens for processing the world. When we hold Saints Row up to this filter, it fails on almost every count. To see how spiritually deceptive Saints Row is, it helps to compare it to games that deal with crime and violence in a completely different way. The key distinction isn't whether a story depicts evil. The Bible itself is full of violence, betrayal, and moral failure. The question is whether a story depicts evil to reveal truth, or celebrates evil and calls it entertainment. Saints Row firmly does the latter. Consider Watch Dogs. On the surface it might seem similar. An open world, plenty of violence, a morally complex protagonist. But the framing is entirely different. You play it as Aiden Pierce, a man driven not by ambition or greed but by grief. His niece was killed as a consequence of his own actions, and the entire game is the story of a man carrying that guilt and seeking justice. You are positioned against the criminals and the corrupt, not alongside them. The violence in Watch Dogs has weight because it comes from loss and consequence. The game never lets you forget that Aiden's world is broken, and that he is partly responsible for breaking it. That is a moral universe that a Christian can recognize and engage with meaningfully. But perhaps the greatest example of all is Red Dead Redemption 2. On the surface, it shares DNA with Saints Row, an open world, a criminal gang, plenty of violence. But their moral frameworks are universes apart. Red Dead Redemption 2 presents violence and crime as forces that inherently corrupt and demand a reckoning. The narrative explores themes of loss, moral decay, and a world haunted by regrets. The central character, Arthur Morgan, isn't a triumphant hero. He's a broken man in a dying world. The game's story charts the gang's decay into self-interest and greed. It doesn't celebrate their crimes. It documents their tragic downfall. Arthur's journey is about the slow, painful realization that there's more to life than just violence and survival, that there's also beauty and a chance for grace. This is a profound spiritual truth. Arthur's redemption arc acknowledges that a life of sin leads to emptiness and death. The game even reinforces this mechanically. If you engage in senseless violence, the game's atmosphere changes. The music becomes sinister. The game tells you that your actions have moral weight. It doesn't find them funny. Red Dead Redemption 2, for all its violence, operates in a recognizable moral universe. Actions have consequences. In a powerful in-game moment, a nun tells Arthur,
Life is full of pain, but there is also love and beauty.
I guess I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan. Take a gamble that love exists and do a loving act.
life is full of pain, but there is also love and beauty. This is the human condition. Red Dead Redemption 2 takes this struggle seriously. Saints Row does not. Jesus asks in Matthew 16:26, "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul?" Saints Row is a game all about gaining the world, the city, the power, the money, and it never once asks you to consider the cost to your soul. The pattern across Watch Dogs and Red Dead Redemption 2 is the same. Both of them use darkness to illuminate truth. They show the cost of violence and crime in ways that provoke reflection. Saints Row inverts this entirely. There is no giant to wrestle with. There is only the celebration of vice. Pride isn't a sin, it's swagger. Greed isn't a pitfall, it's good business. Wrath isn't a corrupting force, it's a takedown system. The protagonist never has a moment of clarity or recognizes that their life is spiritually hollow. They start as an ambitious criminal and end as a wildly successful and celebrated one. The game offers no redemption because, in its worldview, there's nothing to be redeemed from. This is the spiritual lie. It tells you that a life of selfishness and violence is not only fun but ultimately victorious. It whispers that consequences are a myth and rebellion is a virtue. Isaiah 5:20 warns us about exactly this. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Saints Row does precisely that, and it does it while making you laugh. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about the future of the Saints Row franchise. After the critical and commercial failure of the 2022 reboot, the developer, Volition, was shut down. The original game's design director even said he believes the franchise is dead. Perhaps it is, but the spiritual questions it raises remain very much alive. The goal here isn't to condemn gamers or create a new list of forbidden games. It's to equip you with a lens of discernment. Ask yourself when you pick up a game, does this story depict evil to reveal truth? Or does it celebrate evil and call it entertainment? Does it show the cost of sin? Or does it dress sin up as a punchline and hand you a reward for committing it? Our entertainment is not neutral. It is formative. It is either shaping us more into the pattern of this world or helping to renew our minds in the pattern of Christ. Saints Row, in its brilliant, chaotic, and funny design, presents a world where sin is the key to glory. It's a powerful and addictive fantasy, but it's a fantasy that stands in direct opposition to the truth of the Bible. True joy and true life aren't found in becoming the king of a criminal empire. They are found in humbling ourselves and turning away from sin. Let's not be fooled by lies and temptation, no matter how fun it looks. I know this can be a difficult topic. Many of us have played and enjoyed these games, and it can be uncomfortable to critically examine the messages and the entertainment we love. But as Christians, that's what we're called to do. So, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt a conflict between how fun a game is and the message it was sending? How do you practice discernment with your gaming choices? Let me know in the comments below. And if this analysis resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing for more content that looks at gaming through a Christian lens.